Well, welcome back, guys, to No Redemption Outdoors, and we're coming at you this morning with another episode of The Breakfast Club. Well, it's almost 6:30. I got here a couple hours ago. As you can see, I've already been outside and cleared the walkways up to the building. I've gotten some accounting work done, some other, busy work, and now it's almost 6:30. I'm like, you know what? It's time for Breakfast Club. It's time for break and hang out with some of my friends, the Unredeemables, and just chat. So here we are. I want to talk, and I apologize. This is a topic that I'm sure by now you've been beat over the head with. But let's talk real quickly about COVID-19, the coronavirus. As you recall, we first talked about this on Breakfast Club pretty close to a month ago. And as a matter of fact, it was the day after Kobe Bryant died when I made that video. And in the time since then, things have worsened. And if you've been watching the news, you know that the CDC has issued its own statement as of yesterday. And I actually have it here. I'm going to show it to you on the screen. This article comes to us from ABC News. CDC warns Americans of significant disruption from coronavirus. Top health officials are asking Americans to prepare for COVID-19. Yeah, that's kind of been the theme as we've talked about this over the last month. And, the more research I do, the more I realize that the number one thing we need to do is just get ready. Let's see what they say. U.S. health officials issued a strong warning about novel coronavirus on Tuesday, despite remarks from the Trump administration stating they have the situation under control. Until now, health officials said they'd hope to prevent community spread in the United States. But following community transmissions in Italy, Iran, and South Korea, health officials believe the virus may not be able to be contained at the border, and that Americans should prepare for significant disruption. Now that's CDC euphemism for shit's going to hit the fan. And I really think we need to take this seriously, guys. So I think that the best thing you can do is to stock up your pantry with plenty of canned goods and dry goods, and make sure you have ample amounts of bleach and disinfectant on hand, and just toilet paper even. My goodness. I mean, if you couldn't go out to the store for 2 to 3 weeks, let's say, and halfway through that you ran out of toilet paper, that would suck. So even things like toilet paper, I really, these are the kind of things where, good Lord willing, this thing will blow over and turn out to be a big nothing. And then you have some extra supplies that you don't have to buy, again for a while. But if you are not prepared and this thing turns out to be the real deal, I think the consequences are far worse. And so I'm just trying to tell everybody, just prepare. I'm not saying you need to be scared that you're going to die. I don't think that's really the issue, is it? I think the issue is that as this begins to spread and become more prolific throughout the United States, then you're going to see things like quarantines occurring, and supplies in grocery stores and and various other types of stores where you need things to survive. Those supplies will be gone. Medications. I mean, if we can even get them from China, which unfortunately for us, the vast majority, way, way, way too much of our medication comes from China. And so even if you can get it shipped from China, which at this point, gigantic question mark, then once it gets here, I mean, is there going to be enough to go around? I want you to think about something. What happens if your community hospital suddenly becomes overwhelmed with more patients with coronavirus than it can manage? Because that can happen. And it can cripple our entire healthcare system if it's suddenly overwhelmed. So this is a serious concern, all right? Carrying further into the article, ultimately we expect we will see community spread in this country. Dr. Nancy Messonnier, director of the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention's National Center for Immunization and Respiratory Diseases. Is that her title? Boy, her business card must be pretty big. Anyway, Messonnier added that Americans should channel their concern about the virus, officially called COVID-19, into preparing for its arrival. Yeah, I agree. Let's just get ready. Then it's not going to have as much of an impact on us. But if you're not ready, the impact will be immeasurable, perhaps. Health Secretary Alex Azar told reporters at a Tuesday afternoon press conference that the United States would be undertaking the most aggressive containment efforts in modern history. Well, boy, that sentence tells me that there are quarantines coming our way. We are going to continue taking those measures, but we are realistic that we will see more cases, and as we see more cases, we might have to take community mitigation efforts. Does that sound like another one of those CDC euphemisms? Community mitigation efforts. Well, that can mean a lot of things, up to and including lockdown. Okay? So they're trying to cushion this a little bit, at the same time alert people and try to make sure people get ready. And so I'm trying to echo that message right now. Let's just get ready. That's it. Just get ready, and I think you'll be fine. Okay, guys? That's it. Take care of yourselves out there, and everything will be fine. All right, well, we've talked about that enough. Let's move on to something a little more lighthearted. I got an article here. Not a lot to be said about it. I don't know that there's not a great deal of information that they're providing, but it's humorous when you first look at the headline. So this comes to us from Channel 7 News in Sydney, Australia. Baboon escapes from Sydney hospital with its 2 wives before vasectomy. What? Again, an attention-getting headline. Wow, there's a lot packed into that one headline, isn't there? Let's see what they're saying here. NSW Health has confirmed that one of the baboons who escaped from a medical research facility in Sydney on Tuesday was there for a vasectomy. Well, that's a dirty trick. Guy gets into the truck, thinks he's going off for a little bit of a joyride, and he ends up, they're going to snip him. I don't blame him for trying to escape. Police were called to a car park near Royal Prince Alfred Hospital in Camperdown around 5:30 p.m. after the baboons escaped while being transported. NSW Health Minister Brad Hazard told AAP there was a lock failure either on the truck or crate that was transporting a 15-year-old male and 2 females. The 3 baboons decided to take a bit of a look around RPA grounds, he said. They didn't know what to do, nor did the people around them. Well, I dare say if 3 baboons came running up to me, I wouldn't know what to do either. Hazard insisted the baboons were not being transported for research purposes, and the male was at the facility for a vasectomy. Again, dirty trick. 7 News understands the 2 female baboons were considered his wives and had been brought along to keep him calm. You sure you really want 2 wives? Just saying. So I understand this is for his own good, but dude, I don't blame you. I hope you get away. My guess is they probably caught you, but I am a goof, aren't I? All right, well, we got another article here. This one comes in the category of WTF, actually. This is Fox News. North Carolina man run over by deer in McDonald's parking lot. Surveillance video outside of a North Carolina McDonald's last week showed a deer from out of nowhere run over a man heading to his car. It was absolutely nuts, Ken Worthy, who had just finished lunch with his wife at the Locust, North Carolina fast food eatery, said, according to WSOC-TV in Charlotte. It was just a bit of brown, and then I saw his face. I was down on the ground that quick. There actually some video here, so let's take a look at this. I imagine this will be pretty good. Let's see what happens here. Whoa! Whoa! And he got back up. Wow. Let's see that again. Here comes the deer, Boom! Holy. Let's see that again. Come walking along, just minding his own business. Karoom! Wow. Well, that's a fine how do you do. We were walking out with our Cokes, he said, and he collided with me. I was down and then back up. Worthy said he wasn't hurt. He was grateful the deer hit him rather than his wife or a child walking through the parking lot. Well, that's a fair point. Actually, that could have been really tragic if it had been a child or an elderly person or even a woman. Wow. Well, you know, and I'm not going to go on some long-winded thing because, you know, it is what it is. But the fact of the matter is we're seeing more and more deer in and around suburbs and urban areas simply because we've built out these areas. And I do think that there is, need to more aggressively manage the deer population in urban areas. It's very dangerous. I have hit a deer. I hit a deer going 45 miles an hour on a suburban road about a mile from my house. And thankfully I was in a large vehicle. It did a significant amount of damage, but nobody was hurt. But this is not safe. So I don't know what they're going to do about it, but on a humorous note, and thankfully nothing happened, but this goes to show that, you never know when you walk out of McDonald's if this might be your final time. You just never know. Well, let's get to the meat of this Breakfast Club. Today we're going to tackle the topic of the Mandela Effect. Now, I imagine most of you have heard about this, but for those of you who are unfamiliar, the Mandela Effect, I first heard of this about 5 years ago. But it basically goes like this. If you, this all tied into that whole Mayan calendar 2012 thing. And the theory goes that in the lead up to the Mayan calendar 2012, end of the world as we know it, things didn't turn out quite the way they thought they would. Rather than the world ending, like they predicted, supposedly, what they are saying now is that the world ended as we knew it, and that our timeline, our dimension, on December 12th, 2012, at the end of the Mayan calendar, we shifted timelines, effectively shifted into an entirely different dimension. And so, in effect, the world as we knew it did change. It did end. It ended at that time. So goes this theory. And we started on a new timeline, and vast majority of us are unaware of it. We didn't even notice. And some people that go along with this theory of the Mandela Effect actually also tie in the whole idea of the Matrix. And I don't know the full measure of this theory, but the idea is that everything we see is a construct, much like the Matrix. And so again, if you look at, you got the Mayan calendar ending, we're in this Matrix, this glitch occurred, we shifted dimensions, we shifted timelines, maybe the matrix got corrupted, who knows, okay? This entire theory, though, is balled up into this one thing called the Mandela Effect. And it's called the Mandela Effect because it is said that some people remember that Nelson Mandela died in prison in the 80s. And other people remember that Nelson Mandela survived prison, was ultimately released, and then went on to become the president of the country. And for those who, as we know, that is in fact what occurred. But there are many, many people who say, no, he died in prison. Well, how did this change? I know for a fact he died in prison. How did it change where he lived and ultimately became the president in South Africa? That's why they call it the Mandela Effect, because many people assert that they remember things differently, and I'll name some examples, but they remember those things differently than what is actually recorded history. And it goes to these echoes of that world prior to 2012. That echo of the Matrix before the glitches. So goes the theory. There's something going on here. I don't think it's exactly as I've described it. I have no clue. But there is no question in my mind that there are things that are different. And as I go through these examples, maybe some of them will resonate for you as they do for me. So we'll begin with the namesake for this. The Nelson Mandela died in the 80s. So this is the first example they provide. This was the big incident that actually started the whole Mandela Effect phenomenon. A whole slew of people specifically remember that Nelson Mandela died in prison back in the 1980s. What actually happened was that he was released from prison, became president of South Africa, and then died in 2013. That's what happened in this dimension, at least. And so many people remember him die. I do not remember him dying in prison. That is not one of the effects that resonates for me. Berenstain Bears. Now, this one resonates for me because we have a whole collection of these books that, and I read all of these books to my 3 boys. I imagine at least 100 times for each book, and we probably have 20 of these books. And I always remember it as the Berenstain Bears. So here we have the next example, the Berenstain Bears, possibly the most popular example of the Mandela Effect in action. Millions of millennials remember the title of the book being spelled the Berenstain Bears. Right there, Berenstain. That's what I remember. That's what it has always been, as far as I'm concerned. Is it possible that our kid memories are just wishing it was an E because of Frankenstein and Einstein? Or is it really a glitch in the Matrix? Well, to me, it was Berenstain Bears, always was Berenstain Bears. The idea that it's Berenstain Bears puzzles me. And I went and looked at the collection of books, and sure enough, it says Berenstain Bears. So how do you argue with the reality of what's in front of you, but I have a clear memory of it being Berenstain. So that's an example of a Mandela Effect. This is another one. This resonates for me. Magic mirror on the wall. What would you say if I told you that the line from the original Disney movie, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, was not mirror, mirror on the wall? Now I'm going to cite it. Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all? That's the line from the movie. Right? Wrong. But magic mirror on the wall, if you watch the movie back, the evil queen will clearly say magic mirror instead of mirror, mirror. The fact that almost every parody of Snow White says mirror, mirror kind of makes me believe in this one. So again, what they're saying here is all of a sudden, just out of nowhere, it's not mirror, mirror on the wall, it's magic mirror on the wall. And if you go back and look at the movies, sure enough, it says magic mirror. But I ask you, is that how you remember it? It's not how I remember it. The next one up is the Luke, I am your father. This one resonates big time for me. So many people remember that iconic line from Star Wars as Luke, I am your father. But actually it is, no, I am your father. And when I first heard this, I'm like, what? That doesn't make sense. And so I went back and looked, and sure enough, at that point in the movie where Luke is hanging on, his arm has been cut off, and Vader's talking to him, and he says, I know it, clearly, Luke, I am your father. And Luke's like, no! It's not like that. When you look at it now, it's, no, I am your father. What do you guys remember? The Looney Tune one, I don't really remember that one so much. Can't say I recall one way or the other, to be honest with you. Interview with a Vampire, did not see that movie. Deck the Halls. Apparently we've been singing Deck the Halls wrong this whole time. Big one here. Big one here. We Are the Champions. You know the song by Queen, We Are the Champions. Remember how it ends? We are the champions. We are the champions. No time for losers, 'cause we are the champions of the world. That's how I remember it. I couldn't tell you the number of times I've sang along with it. And it's, we are the champions of the world. Nope. Wrong. It actually just ends with, we are the champions, then nothing. There is no of the world on the end. I don't remember that ending that way. I remember it specifically, of the world. Last line. We are the champions of the world. What do you guys remember? C-3PO, according to the theory, always from day one had a silver leg. I remember there was in, I think, the second episode, Empire Strikes Back, he had to get a leg, and he got a silver leg. But before that and after that, I remember him always being all gold. But apparently not. He's always had one silver leg. I don't remember that. Pikachu's tail, I don't know this one. Martin Luther King was killed by a sniper. That's how I remember it. But I guess some people thought he was killed by, assassinated with a handgun. So that would be somebody in close range. And I don't remember it that way at all. I remember him being killed. Yeah, and again, I wasn't old enough to remember the particulars, but my recollection of the history of this is that he was shot by a sniper, and that's in fact, I guess, at odds with what some people remember. Life was like a box of chocolates. Okay, this one again hits me because I know this line. Mama always said, life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. Wrong. What it apparently says, and I've verified this, and this is in fact what it says, life was like a box of chocolates. That's okay. I guess that's what it is, but that's not what I remember. The Monopoly man doesn't have a monocle. I thought he did. Hasn't he always had a monocle? Apparently not. If you look at the Monopoly game box, you'll see that he doesn't have a monocle, nor did he ever have a monocle. Okay, if you say so. Ricky never said, Lucy, you've got some splaining to do. Well, I thought he did. He apparently said, start splaining and splain, but never in 180 episodes did he ever say the iconic phrase, the Mona Lisa is smiling now. Many people remember her smirk being more subtle. Here's one. There were 6 people in the car when JFK was shot. Many people remember there being only 4. That's what I remember. 4. Every video, there's the Bruder film, everything always was 4 people. So it says here, many people remember there being only 4 people in the car when JFK was assassinated, but when you look back at the footage, there are clearly 6. Another great case of, I can't dispute the video evidence, but I know what I remember. Jiffy peanut butter was never a thing. It's always been Jif. Okay, you say so. Keep going down. Gene Wilder. I'm back. We swapped the battery out in the camera. This been a challenging breakfast club. This camera's been fighting me a little bit, but we will prevail. We are the masters of our domain, and this camera will not beat us. So onward and upward. Carrying on. Some of these, there was never Mike and Ike. Mike and Ike. Not familiar with that one. Judge Judy never used a gavel. For all the people who remember Judge Judy slamming down a gavel at the end of her cases, you're wrong. Nowhere in the history of her show did she ever do that. I swear it. I swear I've seen her do it. I don't know. Tom Cruise isn't wearing... Now, okay, I've not seen this one before. But okay, right away I see this is hitting me. Tom Cruise isn't wearing a white dress shirt in the Risky Business scene. Remember that iconic scene from Risky Business when Tom Cruise dances around in a white dress shirt, underwear, and sunglasses? Yes, I do. I do remember it exactly that way. None of that actually happened. He's wearing a pink dress shirt only. What? Are they implying he didn't have any underwear on? What? That's what it says, guys. You see it. You see it there. I question that. All right, well. Hitler had blue eyes, if you say so. I don't know. It's Charles Schulz, not Schultz. Scholes, not Schultz. There is no existing portrait of King Henry holding a turkey leg. Don't think I ever saw one. All right, here's one. It's a beautiful day in this neighborhood. No, it's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Remember that song from Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood that goes, it's a beautiful day in the neighborhood, a beautiful day for a neighbor. But when you look back at the footage of the classic kids TV show, he says it's a beautiful day in this neighborhood. I don't remember it like that. Smokey Bear. Many people remember Fire Safety Bear as being called Smokey the Bear. Yes, Smokey the Bear. Only you can prevent forest fires. Smokey the Bear, not Smokey Bear. So there you go. There's several examples there of the Mandela Effect, and I'll be honest. I think there's something there. I just don't know if it's the Mandela Effect as they've described it. But I feel like there are definitely certain events, iconic societal events, where almost cultural, where we remember them a certain way, but then when we see that the reality is it's different, I can't explain for that. I can't account for that. I don't know. What do you guys think? Is this Mandela Effect a thing? I probably think about it too much. Well, I guess that's enough for one day. I've drank multiple cups of coffee, and now I'm really having the jitters. So I'm going to have to get busy. I got stuff to do anyway, so I imagine you guys do as well. With that, I guess I will wrap things up by inviting you to join us on Instagram and follow us on Facebook. And, of course, as always, hit the subscribe and the notification bell down below, and we're always grateful for that support. The amount of support we get is just... it just blows us away, so we're very grateful for that. And that's about it. Write me at the email below, noredemptionoutdoors@gmail.com, and share some of your thoughts on the Mandela Effect, or drop a comment below. Be really curious to see what you guys think about that. All right, well, there you have it. That's February 26, 2020 edition of The Breakfast Club. Thank you again for stopping by, and until we meet again, guys, take care.